What separates good Dariuses from the best? What separates a Darius player that's just okay from the Dariuses that can win lane 2v1 whenever the jungler ganks, 1v5 in every single team fight, and carry even the worst teammates to that victory screen? In this guide, I'm going to be teaching you how to take your Darius to the next level and how to carry every game with this champion. Whether you're a one-trick Darius or someone who just started playing this champion, this guide will cover everything that you need to know, and that includes his abilities, his combos, his build and situational items, his runes, spells, and I'm also going to be giving you tips and tricks to play him in lane and also in teamfight, and that's going to be the most important section of the guide. So make sure you stick around for that section as it's going to take your Darius to the next level. But before we get into the video, I quickly want to ask you guys to subscribe because only a few of you guys have actually subscribed to the channel, and if you do, it does mean a lot. These videos take a ton of time to produce, so if you guys subscribe, that would absolutely mean the world to me. And while you're at it, please drop a like on the video as it does help with the YouTube algorithm. But with that being said, let's get straight into it. So first off, we're going to be covering Darius's passive. Now Darius's passive applies a stack of bleed every time he auto attacks a champion or uses one of his abilities specifically on an enemy champion. So after you reach 5 stacks, you're going to be seeing a symbol over the enemy's head, and this passive really allows Darius to deal a lot of damage during extended trades. And also once someone has full stacks, then if you auto attack another enemy, they're also going to take full stacks of the damage as well. So that's also really important to note, and it's what allows you to get those pentakills in those team fights. So now we're going to be covering Darius's first skill, and what it does, it's going to deal damage to enemy champions that are in range of his first skill, and will swing an axe in a circular motion around him, and will also deal more damage to the people on the outer radius. So there's an outer radius and an inner radius every time you swing your axe, and if you hit enemies on the outer radius, you're going to be dealing more damage as well as getting an immense heal. Like, watch this heal. Look at that, you just heal so much HP as well as apply a stack to enemy champions. So that's how his first skill works. It's extremely OP in teamfights and helps you to apply stacks to many different champions, especially if you got your 5 stacked passive, then you hit one person with this and then you ult them and they're gonna die, which I'm going to be going over later in this guide. Alright, so now I'm going to be covering Darius' second skill, and it's a pretty simple skill. It's basically an auto attack reset. So this is my normal auto attack speed, but if I use my auto attack reset in my second skill, then it's going to come out a lot faster, just like that, and it will also apply a stack to the enemy champion. This ability also slows an enemy target for a ton of move speed, like 90% of their move speed is going to be slowed after using this. And again, it's an auto attack reset, so you're always going to try to slip an auto right before using this ability to get the maximum amount of damage possible when using this ability. Darius's third skill will pull an enemy in towards him. So it looks something like that, and what it will do, it's going to pull in an enemy near Darius, and then it will give him armor penetration and also slow the enemy champion. So this skill is often used in conjunction with his auto attack and then his second skill as a combo, but I'll be covering that later in the video. I'll be covering his combos later into the video, but basically what it's going to do is going to pull enemies and allow you to hit them with more stacks and allow you to stack your passive more and eventually ult them, or pull an enemy that's trying to escape and then get them and then hammer them with your ult. So that's what you're going to be using your third skill for, and it's also a really good ability to have that armor penetration. Now I'm going to be going over the most iconic ability in Darius's kit, and of course I'm talking about his ultimate. Darius's ultimate allows him to leap to an enemy and dealing true damage to them. Also, the true damage increases with how many stacks they have. For example, if they are already at 5 stacks, then your ultimate is going to deal much more damage if they are at no stacks. Also, true damage means that it's going to ignore any armor that the enemy champion has, allowing you to slice through them and deal a ton of damage to them, especially if there are a tank. And also, if you execute an enemy with his ultimate, even if you don't have 5 stacks, you're going to be able to apply 5 stacks to any other champion, as well as have your ultimate cooldown be reset. Alright, so now I'm going to be covering Darius's combos, but before we go into his really advanced combos, I'm going to be showing you his basic combos. And I know it might be a little bit boring, but these are important, so learn them and you're going to be using them a ton in your game. So the first combo we're going to be covering is his third skill and then his flash. You want to be using your third skill first to surprise your enemy and then flash. So it looks something like that. And it's going to allow you to extend the range of your hook. It's going to help you, especially if you're fed or you're playing against good players that know to avoid Darius, right? No one's going to think that you're going to be able to hook them from all the way over there, but when you flash like that, you're going to be able to hook them, and then you can even surprise them by using Proto Belt as well, and you can hook them from a really far distance. So you're going to be using that a lot and then comboing with your other skills. The second combo I'm going to be talking about is using his first skill and then flashing. And what this will allow you to do is reposition during your first skill. As you know, his first skill will deal more damage as well as apply stacks and heal Darius at the outer radius. Especially if there's a lot of enemies and you know you can hit them after you flash, then you want to be using this combo to heal and put stacks onto them. And this is actually something that I use a lot when I play with Darius. And the heal that you can get is absolutely insane. You can heal like almost half your entire HP if you use this combo properly and you hit multiple enemies. So the last basic combo I'm going to be going over, and the one that is probably the most important out of the three, is going to be your auto attack reset. So how that works is you're going to use an auto attack and then your second skill immediately after to reset your auto attack. If you just auto normally, your auto attacks, they're decently fast, but they're not the fastest autos in the game. But if you use your auto attack reset, it's going to look something like this. So that's much faster than just auto attacking normally. So if you use your auto attack reset properly, it will give you more stacks onto the enemy champion. It will allow you to deal extra damage. It's going to just be it's just going to help you in general. And many champions have auto attack resets, but I don't see a lot of players utilizing them. So that's something that you need to be doing if you want to be really great at Darius. You want to be utilizing that auto attack reset. Alright, so now I'm going to be going over Darius's first combo, and this is going to be one that you're going to be using a lot, especially during the laning phase of the game. It's where you're going to be up close with an enemy, then you're going to auto attack reset with your second skill, and then after that use your first skill and space it properly to get a heal, and then after that you can disengage or engage again depending on what the situation is, but you want to be hitting this last, and then that's going to allow you to heal as well as deal more damage to the target. Alright, so now I'm going to be going over Darius's combo that he's going to be using when he's going for an all-in at level 3 or level 5. So what you can do is you can use your third skill and your flash, or you can just third skill to pull them in if it's not needed for a flash. And then after that, you're going to be using your auto attack and your second skill to reset your auto attack. After that, you're going to be using your first skill, and then after 2 auto attacks, then they're going to be having 5 stacks, after which you can either follow up with more auto attacks if you don't have your ult, or just ult them at that point where you're going to be executing them no matter what champion they're playing, because the true damage is really insane on Darrius after his enemies get 5 stacks. Alright, so now I'm going to be covering Darius's build and situational items, but before I go into that, I quickly want to ask you guys to subscribe to the channel, because only 7% of you guys that actually watch my videos are subscribed. So if you guys could subscribe to the channel, that would be absolutely amazing, because these videos do take a really long time to make, and I try to provide the best educational content on the platform on Wild Rift. So if you're interested in that, don't forget to drop a sub, because it would really help out with the channel and with the YouTube algorithm. But with that, let's get right into the build. So for my first item, I like taking Trinity Force. And I know some people like taking Black Cleaver over Trinity Force, but in my opinion, Trinity Force is more better in a lot more situations. However, if the enemy team is extremely tanky, then you can go Black Cleaver first item, but then after that, don't go by Trinity Force. So first item, get Trinity Force for the well-roundedness that it provides. Second item that you go is Dead Man's Plate, and this item is really good for Darius because then you can build up that momentum and that move speed that you need really critically when you don't have a dash with Darius. This is going to allow you to catch up to those champions and avoid CC. So for your third item, I would recommend buying a boot item. You can also rush this if you need to. And I recommend getting a defensive boot item, so either Mercury Treads or Ninja Tabbies or Plated Steel Caps as they're called now. You're going to be going Mercury Treads against team comps with more crowd control and magic damage, and Plated Steel Caps against champions that have more attack damage where you need that armor. As for the enchant, there are a bunch of different enchants that you can go for. However, the most popular ones right now are the Glory enchant, which will allow you to catch up to enemies and dash up to them, the Proto Belt enchant, which will give you a dash, and the QSS that will dispel crowd control. Other enchants that you can consider are the Gargoyle enchant if you want to be the main tank of your team, or the TP enchant. And after that, you're going to be taking 3 situational items, and I'm going to be naming a lot of different situational items. However, you want to be using the ones that you need in your certain situation. So you need to be looking at your team comp and looking at the enemy team comp and deciding what you need. So the first situational item that you can go is a Force of Nature, and this item has been picking up a lot of popularity, especially in high elo. I'm seeing a lot more Dariuses pick up this item, and it's a really great item if you're up against magic damage and you're going to be taking a bunch of magic resist after you get this item. Another item you can consider is going Randuin's Omen. And Randuin's Omen is when you're up against a crit AD carry. So if the enemy marksman is fed, or if they have a fed Yasuo, or anyone like that on their enemy team, Randuin's Omen is going to be a great item to buy. Another great defense item against AP damage is Spirit Visage. And this is going to help you gain more heal, especially with your first skill. If you can hit it with team fights while you have Spirit Visage and there's no anti-heal on the enemy team, you can heal almost your full HP. I've seen Dariuses heal 3/4 of their HP just by using a really juicy first skill when they have Spirit Visage. So you want to be considering this item as well. Another item I see a lot of Darius players taking is Sterak's Gauge. Sterak's Gauge is going to be giving you that huge shield when you get low, as well as a bunch of max health and also AD. And the last item I'm going to be going over is Guardian Angel. And Guardian Angel is an item that you want to buy when you are hard carrying a game and you know if you die there's going to be no hope. So Guardian Angel is going to help you stay alive in team fights, and it's going to be giving you that revive as well as a lot of AD and armor. So it's also an item that you want to be considering. These are not all the items you can get. These are not all the items you can go on Darius. However, I don't want to be running through the entire defensive items list. So these are the items that I usually buy, and these are the items I feel are best on Darius. But again, it's going to be up to your certain situation, so you need to be itemizing properly. And I think I will maybe make a new itemization guide soon if you guys are really interested in that. But with that, let's get into the runes and spells. For Darius's runes, only Conqueror makes sense. I know it was nerfed, but the nerf wasn't really targeted towards Darius. It was targeted towards more poke-oriented champions. Conqueror is still the best rune on Darius. After that, you want to be taking Triumph, and this rune really allows you to go for those 1v5 outplays and take down enemy champions and heal 10% of your missing health for every kill. So that's what allows those Dariuses to get pentakills. After that, I like taking Hunter Titan, as this rune will help you gain more max health and tenacity with every kill you get, allowing you to snowball the game even further. For your last rune, it's a bit situational. However, I like taking Sweet Tooth. It's just my personal preference. It helps me win the lane a lot more, as well as gives you more sustain, especially if you're playing against a hard lane. For example, if they counterpicked you and picked Vayne or something like that, then Sweet Tooth is always a nice option to have. As for Darius' spells, there are only 3 spells that I would really highly recommend, as Barrier got nerfed this patch. So the spells that you can go for are Ghost, Flash, and Ignite, and they all have their own pros and cons. The first spell combination that I would recommend and highly recommend for beginner Dariuses and also pro Dariuses alike is going to be Ghost Flash, and you should be taking this combination around 90% of your games. And the reason why is because this combination of spells allows you to gain so much mobility with a champ that doesn't have a dash. Darius seriously lacks mobility, and that's the only department that he is kind of weak in. So when you take Ghost and Flash, it mitigates those weaknesses and allows you to catch up to enemies and blink onto them, or use ghosts to run them down. And Ghost resets with every kill, making an even better option with Darius. However, you can see that I also included Ignite. The reason why you want to be taking Ignite is when you're up against a healing Baron laner. Even though I tell you every single time, I'm going to tell you again because it's so important. You want to be taking Ignite against Baron laners that have heal. That means Dr. Mundo, that means Fiora, or if they have a healing support like Soraka, you just want to be aware of that and then take Ignite to mitigate that heal and stop them from healing up so much. So those are the 3 spells that you can take in consideration. You can take them in any combination, but the one that I like for mobility especially is going to be Ghost and Flash. Alright, so now I'm going to be going over some tips and tricks for Darius, and these are going to be extremely important, so I highly recommend you watch till the end of this section, because that is what's going to take your Darius to the next level. So my first tip for you is going to be for his level 1 cheese, and I know not a lot of people do this, however it's so effective because no one does it. So what you want to be doing is you want to be camping a brush at level 1, and when the enemy leashes, let's say that they're leashing blue buff for their jungler, and you camp the bush and they go through the greedy pathing, you're going to be able to chunk them and put them at 5 stacks before they can say, "Aw crap, I messed up." And after you've gotten 5 stacks, there's really no way you're going to be losing that trade. So there's no reason why you shouldn't cheese. It's going to be giving you a huge advantage, especially if you do it right. So remember to abuse your level 1 power spike and abuse that by using cheese. So that's my first tip for you, is to cheese level 1 using Darius, especially bush camping and especially when your enemy goes for leashes or arrives late to lane. My second tip for you is to play aggressively during the laning phase. Darius is a lane bully, and this is what makes him so strong. Not only is he strong in those team fights and those 1v5 situations, but also during the laning phase, he's also extremely strong, especially if you know how to play him right. So how you want to be playing Darius is going for extended trades. And what do I mean by that? Is going for trades where you're going to be auto-attacking the enemy a lot, because no one can beat out Darius with his passive. Maybe Nasus with ult, but other than that, no one is going to beat Darius in an extended trade. So you want to be going for these on enemies, and then after you have 5 stacks, you can either ult them or just run them down with auto attacks, as you're going to be winning every single trade. But also know your limits. So I know a lot of Dariuses love to limit test with Darius, and that's something that I enjoy as well. But a limit test is something like you have a big wave slow pushing and you know the enemy jungler is going to gank you, yet you still play aggressively because you think you can 2v1. Now that's a good example of limit testing, because you can pick up that 2v1 double kill if you do get the outplay, and especially if you have a big minion wave. If you are pushing the enemy turret and you randomly die to the enemy collapsing on you because you didn't have map awareness, that's not limit testing, that's just feeding. So know your limits and know when you're limit testing and know when you're just straight up feeding. So as Darius, you want to be understanding what you want to be doing and knowing your limits and when to back off and when it's not going to be worth the risk. So that's another tip I have for Darius. So you want to be playing aggressively and playing confidently, but at the same time, don't be stupid and don't feed, okay? Because Darius is a champ that can snowball really hard if you play him correctly. My third tip for you is during team fights, and it is to stack up on enemy front lines. I can't emphasize how much enemy front lines just love giving you stacks and love getting you to 5 stacks just for you to ult their entire team. So you want to be stacking up onto the enemy front line, and then after you have your ult or you have the passive with 5 stacks up, you can just flash onto an ADC, auto attack them once, and then ult, and they'll be dead for sure, especially if you're snowballing. So you want to be going for the enemy front line, especially if they're giving you free stacks. It's going to be free damage and heal if you hit your first skill. So that's what you want to be looking to do during team fights. My fourth tip for you is to join team fights, because Darius is one of the best champions at team fighting, but don't neglect your own farm and your own lane. For example, if you always join a team fight, then your own farm and your own lane is going to go down. If someone's split pushing in your lane, don't just ignore it and group up with your team. Try to stop it and also take care of your own farm before looking out for others. Think of a play if it's going to help you more just to stay in your lane and farm minion waves, or help your teammates out with a team fight and maybe pick up some kills. So you really need to measure the pros and cons of every single choice you make, and don't neglect your own farm for random team fights or randomly grouping up with your team and not even fighting with the enemy team or not even picking up any kills or being useful at all. So remember to join team fights, but don't neglect your own farm and your own lane as well.
that brings me to my last tip, and that's just to like and subscribe to the channel. I try to bring you the best educational content there is on YouTube about Wild Rift, and it's all about improving your game with different champions and helping you to get better at Wild Rift. So if you're interested, then leave a like and subscribe, because it really does help the channel out a ton. But with that being said, I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye!